Hi everyone, welcome to the Finance Show with Joe. My name is Joseph Dalwood. I'm the founder of It's Simple Finance. I'm an economist, I'm a mathematician, and I'm a mortgage broker. I am delighted today to introduce my guest. In Sydney, we struggle with property. The reason why is sometimes it's too expensive, or sometimes we think to ourselves, is it too good to be true? Thankfully, we have people like my guest who can help us in these situations. He's a buyer's agent, he's a licensed real estate agent, and he's my good friend Julian from Search Party Property. Julian, thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks, Joe. Pleasure to be here.
Julian, I'm really excited to have you on because your journey to property was actually a little bit different to a lot of people's. You were working with credit cards and customer loyalty, and you were the brains behind the customer loyalty programs that we're all a part of now. Could you give us some insight on how you got into it?
Yeah, well, I guess if I rewind a little bit further back, being a bit older than you, I actually left school and did accounting because that's what my dad said to do. You're Indian, do accounting, and started that. And after 2 years, realised, I got a bit of a personality, so accounting wasn't my thing. And but I like the business, I like the economics, I like that side of it. So then I actually went into the travel industry by luck, just as a courier to kick off. And then I went and studied tourism marketing and completed my education that way. And then worked in the travel industry and airlines and hotels, all at that for the 5-star level in sales and marketing, and sort of grew my career through there. And I guess what that taught me was customer service excellence. And so from a very young age all the way through, it was all about 5-star hotels and 5-star airlines, and looking after your clients is the number one priority. And it was almost like a game every day you walk into work. How do I excite a client? How do I excite a customer? And then, I guess that sort of a good tranche there, travelled a lot, and then was just looking for a change. I wanted to move overseas actually with that, and I met a girl, ended up being my wife, so she didn't really want to go overseas. So I stayed in Australia and moved into customer loyalty with a large credit card loyalty program, worked with B2B and B2C clients in Australia.
Business to business and business to consumer.
That's right.
Yes.
So I started off doing business to employees. So I was B2E. I was doing employee benefit and recognition programs for Telstra and Optus and all the big CBA in the country, and then moved into more business to business. So I started working with the banks, with the telcos. That was, a few years here. They sort of became, director of the business, and then got the opportunity to move overseas and went to India actually for 3.5 years. So
wow.
May have guessed an Indian background, but I've never lived there. So that was really exciting to take my wife and 2 young kids at that stage, 2 girls, and live in India. And so for 3.5 years there, we built a loyalty program from scratch, worked with 3 of the biggest banks in India, and then returned back to Australia.
Really? Okay. So we've done all this, and then you're back in Australia. And did you immediately, start up your company, or how did this, go about?
No, I guess that entrepreneur. So the lady who owned the company, who now has been bought by MasterCard, was a great entrepreneur. Obviously, it taught a lot of good lessons about just getting stuff done, hustling, and try different things. And if it doesn't work, that's okay. Try another one. And so I always had that entrepreneurial flair. I guess it was something with me. I always had it. Always tried different businesses, side hustles that we've all done. And then I came back. I thought, I was 40 and just ready to really try to do a couple of things for myself. And, we did well out of being away. So property-wise, we were able to come back with some good money. So we bought a lot of property in that next few years, which we'll talk about, I'm sure, around the property side. But, tried a few entrepreneurial activities, tried to build a logbook based on out of your iPhone. So watching people move around through their calendar, pull in the information and create a logbook. And we raised a lot of money for that. Trying to be the next tech sort of billionaire, but it didn't quite happen. And then went back into the corporate world and worked for another large American company, another large British company. So setting up their organisation. So I guess I was really good at getting my hands dirty and setting things up. Yeah. So big companies overseas, but starting up for them in Australia.
So the thing is, I always tell people about, any startup, any organisation, anything that you need to build from scratch, it's not 9 to 5. There's no such thing as 9 to 5. Yeah. You're in there and you've got your hands deep and you're like, I need to fix this. You need to wear many hats and all those kinds of things. So I guess it all taught you, how to, basically start your own company and everything like that.
Yeah, I guess, you don't have that ego that, hey, I don't get involved in those type of activities, but you do it all. And, you have to work funny hours because your company's in America and the company's in Europe, and Switzerland was another business. So, you do all that and loved it. But then, just got to a stage I always wanted to find that out. And So then Luke, who's my business partner, and I worked together, actually my first job and his first job.
Okay.
He was a few years younger. And so we hooked up after a long time and just started chatting about property. So he was very deep into the property business, worked as a strata manager as well, built a big portfolio, and so did I. And so we actually end up giving blood together at the Red Cross every 2 weeks, I think.
Wow.
And so we'd sit there for an hour giving blood and chatting about property. And he was talking about his business idea. And I said, oh, man, I'm in the corporate world. I got the golden handcuffs. I really can't leave.
Yep.
And kind of just kept talking about that over the next year or so, really, a year or two. And he then started Search Party Property by then. And then, I guess I was made redundant. So that was kind of the clincher. Like, this is a time before I go back into another corporate job. Do I now take this chance?
Let's take the risk.
And do it. And so, so he was still encouraging me to do that. And that's what happened. And the rest is history,
That is absolutely amazing. So you've been a buyer's agent for how long now?
4 years, yeah.
And so you've seen it at the start of COVID. You've seen the massive FOMO, I need to buy a property right now kind of attitude that existed in 2020, 2021.
Yeah.
And then 2022, it was there, but it was lingering. But what are the trends that we're really noticing in 2023 when it comes to property?
Yeah, you're right. Funny enough, I do a monthly summary of the month, and which I post on LinkedIn and socials. And actually, the title for this month, funny enough, is called the Property Roller Coaster, because that's kind of exactly what you've just said over those years, but even in the last few months. So, going back pre-COVID, the market was fine. We were doing really well. And then COVID pretty much just shut it down.
It was 2000, I still remember, it was 2018. The election had just happened and Liberal just got back in, I think it was. I think
Correct.
It was 2018 or 2019. And people were like, thank God, property will still do well. Law of economics, all that kind of stuff. There will be a lot more development approvals. There will be stock on the market. We will be able to have our supply chain of property. And then as soon as COVID hit, it was just like, oh, no, property's going to go down again. It's going to go down, going to go down. And then the opposite happened.
Yeah.
People had too much money to spend. And then it was just like, all right, property's going to boom in this market.
Yeah, it was an interesting one, right? Like the experts, the economists at these banks. I mean, you said you're an economist and you studied economics, but I mean, these guys are predicting 30% crashes, right? And so a lot of people sort of protected themselves and held on to their money and didn't spend. And then we went the other way.
Yeah.
And so that FOMO really kicked in, and people just started, barbecue talk. Australia's favourite topic is property, and everyone started wanting to buy property. So it was a good time for our business to really take off. We hired some really good people who were working for us as contractors or consultants, and then we just brought them on full time because the market just went like that. And so that was a really good time for us to bring in some good people and grow with that wave. Otherwise, it's pretty hard to do that in a stagnant market like today. If you started a buyer's agency, it'd be very hard because the market's not like that.
Well, you've got the customer loyalty experience, so you know how to bring people back in as well, which is pretty insightful.
I mean, 60% of our clients have bought, 2 or more properties. We've got clients with 10 properties, 8 properties, 7 properties over, a short period of time, 4 years.
Are we still seeing an aggressiveness from, buyers? Are they still going out and hunting in certain suburbs, or is there a particular type of property they're hunting for at the moment?
2 big things I've noticed, Joe, and it goes hand in hand in finance, is their budgets have dropped. So we're not doing blue chip. So we're not in the eastern suburbs of Sydney, for example, buying $2 million investment properties. And we buy a few of those around the Hills District or in different areas of Sydney for maybe owner occupiers. But predominantly our investors are the average, in a nice way, mum and dad investors. And so we've seen their budgets drop from that 650, 700 to now moving to that 5, something with a 5 in front of it. And so that's been changed where we buy as well. Because we were buying in Brisbane for that price, no problems, 2019 and 20, but now you're not buying at that price point. So the Brisbane market went up, as you know, 30 or 5% over that period.
So with the investments having to change, are we still able to purchase properties in that $500,000 price range, or are we really limited? Because I know, and but our listeners might not know where they can attain these types of properties.
Yeah, we're still definitely buying that type. We don't sell a lot of apartments.
I'm not saying apartments. Like, are we talking about, are there house and land packages in Perth, for example, or Ipswich, or something along the lines of that? Have we seen the market or the investment market shift more in that direction?
Yeah, very much so. So we've got 2 people in Perth now. So we went out there about 18 months ago, went for a visit, spent a week there, met a lot of developers, met a lot of counsellors, just tried to get a feel of the market.
Yeah.
Travelled around a lot and drove around and met people who took me around to look at different sites. And Perth's very well planned. So in Sydney, we have to dig tunnels everywhere because we're such an old city and we make a mess of it. They build a freeway with 6 lanes and put a railway line down the middle of it and they stop it. That's it. Now we're going to develop around here and then maybe in 5 or 10 years we'll extend that railway line out again. So not being such an old city, they can do that, right? So it's well planned.
Then you just look at Alexandria and you look at Kellyville, and as the bird flies, it's 30 kilometres away. But if you want to drive from here to there, it's going to take you an hour and 10 minutes. Am I correct in saying that?
Exactly right. You're going through the whole traffic, right? And I just came through Roselle now to come here, and all the tunnels and what they're doing there is a mess.
It's just absolutely insane. So I just want to touch on a suburb that you did mention. I just mentioned it myself, Kellyville. You are helping a lot of people purchase owner-occupied properties well, not a lot, but not too sure of your data, but you've helped people in the past purchase in Kellyville. Now, Kellyville 10 years ago are we looking at $500,000, $600,000 homes, house and land packages?
Yeah.
This has grown substantially to about $1.3, $1.4 million. And Kellyville is now highly regarded as a beautiful area.
Yeah.
This is where you want to raise your kids. This is where
schooling, transportation, metro,
everything along the lines of that. And it's so close to Castle Hill as well.
Yeah.
Are there still opportunities like that around Sydney where people can go, you know what, I could still buy an owner-occupied property there between $700,000 and $800,000 and it'll grow in equity in the long run?
Yeah, but it's really hard now at that price point, right? So 95% of our clients are investors. So we're not buying a lot of owner-occupiers properties. And so that price point you mentioned, you'd have to really go southwest.
Yep.
Right?
Where
So,
I'm from.
Yeah, so you know that area. We'd have to go way down there, which again has boomed because we've got the metropolis coming through, but there's no transport out there yet.
Yeah.
But as the airport develops, that whole area develops. Before that, I was looking at St Mary's and those areas.
Yeah.
On the other side of the track, you've got Bidwell and Shalvey and all those areas, which could be the next, but they're so heavily laden with housing commission and things like that. It's going to take a long time. And St Mary's, only 3 years ago, we were buying things there for $550,000, corner blocks that we could subdivide.
Yeah.
They're gone.
Yeah.
That's $750,000, $800,000 now. So that price point you're talking about, very hard to find in an established property.
But even if it's hard to find, this is my favourite thing to tell people. It's not about timing the market. It's about time in the market.
Correct.
So there's a lot of first home buyer initiatives like the 5% schemes and, the 10% at Bluestone investment schemes or anything along the lines of that people can really go for and go, hold on, I could buy myself a house. My deposit's probably going to be the same as what my parents' was.
Yeah.
And the government's going to come in as a guarantor. Unfortunately for a first home buyer, you do have to borrow 95% or 90% or however much it is. But on the other side of it, you're also able to get into the market still. They're still allowing you and they're still giving you that chance to go, no, hold on a second. If you got a 5% deposit, you're not going to be out of the market. It's not going to be a 20% rule. It's going to be a 5% rule. And we're really going to give you guys a chance. We're going to give you guys a shot. And we've even seen that with the recent budget change where they've come out and said, the first home guarantee isn't just for singles. It's not just for couples. It's not just for citizens. You can now be siblings and go purchase. You can now be friends and go
cousins,
purchase. Yeah, cousins, everything. So we're starting to see a lot more inquiry and pre-approval on that side of the market. We're starting to get a lot more people to really garner the interest and really go, okay, this is where I'm going to be able to buy some land. This is where I'm going to be able to buy a house. And then I always love having a buyer's agent on here because they can always explain after the property grows in equity and after they refinance it, tap into some equity. This is where you guys come in and help them find properties that are either positively geared, negatively geared, or something with a expected capital gain. Could you give us some insight on how you assist your buyers or how you assist the people, especially the ones that have bought 2-3 homes, in expanding their investment portfolio?
Yeah, it's a very good point. So from us, when people start talking to us about property, we always just stop. Let's just talk about strategy first. Let's not talk about property for the moment. And so tell me about yourself, a little bit like a fact finder. Talked about understanding their passion, understanding their knowledge, understanding their risk appetite. Doing a splitter block, not many people understand that or want to do that type. That's a bit more risky and advanced. So we need to go through all that. Then once we get a feel for them, finance kicks in. Have you got to find? Oh, we haven't. Well, you need to go and talk to Joe and get that sorted, right?
Cheap plug there. Could you just go back into that? What's a splitter block? Could you explain that to our listeners?
Sorry, good point. So we're buying a land with a house. It's got a house on it, and let's say it's 600 square metres or 800 square metres block. We would then be able to do a development approval and maybe cut that in half. And so you've got the original house, and we've got 2 blocks of land, and we build another house. And all of a sudden, you've got two houses on 1 block of land. You can either sell one. Some people just do the DA, the development approval, and just sell the block. They don't want to get into building. It's also just having that option. So that's an option there for the future. So some of our clients will buy bigger blocks, or we've got clients who bought properties side by side. No intention of being developers, but they know someone's going to come and eat that up.
Yeah.
So we'll strategically buy that for them, and then they'll hold it. We might go and help them do the development applications when they're ready. And they'll just sell it. So
why is it best to take advantage of some land, subdivide it and sell it? Is there more profit than owning a single block? Is it better for someone who is an investor?
Well, I guess you've got that, what we call manufacturing equity or manufacturing some growth. So you can either wait on organic growth. So, what are we talking? 5.8% over the last 30 years, average across Australia.
Which is pretty amazing.
Which is pretty amazing, right? Do you wait for that? Doesn't always go in a clear linear line, does it? We have these roller coaster or these waves that we've talked about. So one way to manufacture that growth, maybe a faster way to do it, is look at a block of land that we could subdivide and we could develop, or we could put townhouses on, or it could be a renovation. Small one, could be carpet, paint, and could be moving a wall across. Could be putting another wall in if it's a bigger house, going from 3 to 4 bedrooms. All of a sudden, that house is now going to be worth more. Yep. So you get that revalued, then you harvest that equity, and you keep going and buying another property.
It really seems like property is the key to wealth in Australia. It's always been the key to wealth. Is there a particular reason why you think that if you look at our graphs, they all go kind of that way, you know what I mean? It's not like socialist housing across the world, like when you go to the Nordic regions where houses might be the same price as they were 10 years ago. In Australia, it's just always, okay, buy some property, it'll grow in value. Buy a property, it'll grow in value. Buy a property, it'll grow in value. Why do you think it is that, it's always got scaling upwards in this country?
Yeah, I know we talk about the great Australian dream, so that's part of it, but we're also a country full of migrants, like myself, my parents, your parents.
Yep.
So I think a lot of those countries you're referring to, look at the current statistics on who's coming to our country, Chinese and Indian subcontinent, they normally wouldn't buy property back home. They come to Australia, they work hard, they get 2 jobs, and they come out. I'm sure that a lot of your clients, and they will ask for a loan and they go and buy property. They buy their first house. It's so exciting. And then they'll go and repeat that and buy investment property. So they're, part of our biggest client base, just coming through because they're hungry to grow their portfolios.
What we see now, especially with the new rule change, the 5% being allowed for permanent residents, is we're seeing so many people apply for pre-approvals and hunt for property. They're trying their hardest to get something. Okay. And obviously you and I know there's limited supply in the market right now compared to what there was 2 years ago. But it seems like we're a growing population. It's not like we're America that's, got I think they're at 350 million at the moment, and they grow, maybe 1% a year or 2% a year.
Yeah.
Australia's population, I'm pretty sure Anthony Albanese came out with a plan where he wanted to grow our net migration by like 20%. He wanted an extra 4 million people in at one point or something along the lines of that. And more people just means we need more houses.
Correct.
And this leads me to my next question. Where do we put them? Because you and I know development approvals have halved since 2021. And how do you help your clients find a home that they could either live in or invest in?
Well, I think it's a lot about going back to what do they want to do. So the big thing we're seeing now is rent vesting. So, okay, I give up. I can't live near mum and dad in Hunters Hill or wherever they may have grown up. So we will go out and invest in property. So whether it's Sydney or whether a lot of people are buying borderless investment because they can't afford to buy in Sydney or buy where they live. So they'll live in a nice area, they'll rent, and then we'll buy them a property for $700,000 in Brisbane. And they'll build their wealth through property investing and do it that way. So strategically buy property where we're finding growth elements.
I love that you mentioned that buying interstate because that's what I did for my first property. I bought in Tasmania.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of pretty courageous because most people don't have the guts to do that.
Well, the reason why I bought it, and this is why it's important to always have a buyer's agent on your side because the buyer's agents do a lot of the work for you. I didn't have that, but I had an older brother that was in property.
Right.
And he turns to me and he goes, look at Hobart. It's a regional CBD. And what happens with regional and rural CBDs, as soon as you're out of the regional CBD, 1 meter out, you're now classified as rural.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening is there was a large net migration of Chinese students moving to Tasmania. While they're moving to Tasmania, well, they could complete their rural work for 2 years or a year and a half, whatever the rule is, and get their permanent residency and then move on to citizenship quite quickly. So what we started to see was a housing crisis down in Hobart. And people were going, why is the pricing going up so much? And that's because there were so many students going to this area.
Yeah.
So it's always important, I believe, to go to the experts. They're the ones that are going to help you find these little pockets. Hey, guess what? Perth has just redeveloped these highways. There's 6-lane highways. We're starting to see a net migration of this many people. It's supply and demand. The people want land. That's what they want to come here and buy. They're over COVID. They're over all that. They want something specific to them, and that's where they're going. And that's why I always believe it's always good to have someone like yourself on the side. Another thing is you can actually save clients a lot of money.
Yeah.
One thing I noticed is you guys will find the off-market opportunities. You guys will have, you'll meet the real estate agent before, auction commences or anything like that. Have you seen, any buyer success stories like this recently?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people say, why should I use a buyer's agent? Why should I pay you to find me a property? But they've just already also told you how busy they are in their life and their kids and their busy jobs and they're both working. So you kind of talk about that time and motion studies, talk about how much time it'll take you to buy it. Do you want to visit properties every week, every weekend with your children? If it's in Sydney, if it's outside, how are you going to look at the property? How are you going to know if that property in Brisbane or Perth is a good property? You're going to spend $1,000 to go look at many properties over a period of time. So that's the kind of justification. It's also negotiating. That's a huge element of it. And what's the average? I think it's Australian buy a property every 10 to 12 years. Okay. So in your lifetime, you only buy a few properties. Yeah. So, I say, well, we're buying properties every day. Well, most days. We're negotiating on dozens of properties every day. And, then we go through the contract and settlement stage. So we're doing that every single day. So obviously our experience, understanding the market, off-market or pre-market deals, I like to say. So where we might just get a heads up and, hey, Julian, just listed a property. It'll be online in a week. Do you want to have a look at it? Yeah. So they know we've got an educated client. They've got their finance approved. They know we've gone through the data. They know where we want to buy. We've analysed all those 30 elements and algorithms and all those things to know where we want to buy property, from population growth to the council to what development's happening, what zoning are we able to do, and we look at that and say, yeah, we think that's a good area to buy in.
I absolutely love what you just said. An Australian buys a home every 12 years. If you average that out, let's say an Australian lives, the average lifespan, I think for a male in Australia is 79 years, right? You average that out after the age of 18, of course. So 79 to 18, that's 61. You divide that by 12, so they buy 5 properties in their life.
But even that's a fast, to buy that many at 18, you probably wouldn't be doing that. You wouldn't be right maybe to your late 20s potentially.
That's exactly it. You're doing that, or you're negotiating that for clients in a week. So you're doing 50 times the work of any average Australian in a year, okay, across what they'll do in their lifetime. So I think it's really essential for people to understand buyer's agents are your friends. They're the ones that are actually going to go to bat for you and make sure that you get the property that you deserve. We're going to help with the money. We're going to help. We're going to go to bat for the loan. But it's you guys that really can come in and go, you're paying too much on this property. That real estate agent isn't your friend. Yeah. This real estate agent is my friend. We're going to get you the right price on this one.
I think that's been the mystique of the whole industry, right? Yeah. So we've trusted, and they're great selling agents, as we call them, and we also buy from them. But they get paid by the seller, whereas we only advocate for the buyer. Yeah. Right. We're only in the buyer's camp. And we go head-to-head against that selling agent. So, and we find out so much information about their client, which their client would be horrified if they knew, we know they're getting divorced. We know they'll take any deal. They know they want to make it quick, then painless, and they want a quick settlement. But we get all this information, and we know how then to go in and try to buy that property, try to get there before auction, before it goes to too many open homes. And if we know the price is right, we can get that in the right terms. It's not always about the price. It's about the terms as well. If we've got finance ready and we can do that deal, and because they're an investor, it's not about time. The quicker they get rent in, the better. So we can make it a quick and painless transaction as well.
And this is general advice only. Nobody take this specifically. My favorite thing to do if I'm ever going into, for a property is offer a 66W up front.
Yep.
If the seller's agent legally has to present any offer presented to them to the seller. Okay. What I like to do is I like to say, I want to buy this. I've got my finance ready. I want 2 week settlement. Here's your 66W. I don't want to negotiate with anyone. And then that way, the seller all of a sudden goes, he's there, he's ready. There's no negotiation. It's done.
Yeah.
And that's one of my favorite tools. And that's what buyer's agents are really, really good for.
Yeah.
To be able to offer those kinds of terms. Also extended settlement. Sometimes, especially for development projects, you need 3 to 6 months to be able to get everything ready, get your DA ready, get your council approval, get your construction certificate, all those types of things. So it's extremely imperative that you are able to negotiate those types of deals.
Yeah, that's right. And I guess, when you build that trust with those agents as well, they trust us. They know we got good clients. They're not going to tie kick. We're serious. Our clients have finance ready. They're not coming in and making silly offers that are never going to be accepted. I got a call on the way in here, actually, just, got this deal. It's an investor dream. Are you interested? I know you've got clients looking. And so send me the deal. We'll put it out there and we'll see what we've got. A lot of time we'll reverse market. So we have a promotion called Crack a Deal, which is an email to our database of 8,000 people or so. And again, today we put one out in Perth. Bang, someone rang and said, I want to buy that deal.
Really?
They weren't a client, they haven't signed up, but they're watching what we're doing.
Yeah.
Through our, we put daily posts on LinkedIn, on Facebook, always education. We're not selling through there. Our website's full of education, full of our case studies. We tell exactly where we buy. So we're not a buyer's agent that says, we bought this great deal here, but they put the suburb and things like that. We actually list everything and we want to show people that and educate them along the way. We often say it's a partnership when we become clients and we want to educate you through the process.
Well, saving a deposit is so hard. Refinancing is, it is sometimes a nightmare to get a client to be able to get that equity out to purchase an investment. You need someone that you can work with and you need to have a trusted relationship. And, there's a lot of people out there in the industry that maybe you can't. So I think that's why it's super important. I want to pivot a little bit. Last week, the Reserve Bank of Australia met and actually held the interest rates. They haven't done this for a while. Well, they did it couple months ago, but they did it once. Inflation is down from 6.8% to 5.6%, which means things are starting to get a smidge normal, just a little bit normal after the bushfires, the COVID, and all that kind of stuff. What do you think of the recent interest rate changes?
That was a 50-50 bet, really, right? Most people say, I picked it, I didn't pick it, but it was 50-50. You look at the statistics, look at all the experts.
I would like to just go on video and say I did pick that. I'm just going to put that one out there. I was right once.
So did I. I tossed a coin and I got it right.
Yeah.
But, I think I felt like they had to do it just to bring some calmness back in. But, people are still spending. Every third person is in Italy at the moment, or they're in Bali, they're having holidays, right? School holidays at the moment. So we're still seeing that spend going on. But they brought a bit of calmness in. I think we're still seeing it. There's a stock issue. Still haven't really got, if you look at the graphs and the charts that we're looking at, there's still not a lot of stock in the market. We're down, 20, 30%. Year on year at the moment. So the stock's not there. So pausing it might give people a little more confidence. And if you're holding on, we're going to hold on for dear life for our home, right? We're not going to let this interest rate affect us. You'll scrimp and save to make sure you hold your family home. But the investment property, if you have to let go of something, you'll let go of that. If you have to. Now, as an investment savvy buyer's agent, we would say you should hold on to your property for as long as you possibly can. So people say, I want to buy investment property, make some money and sell it in 5 or 10 years. Why? I don't know. I just thought we should take the money off the table. But why do you want to do that? Just hold it. Because all the selling costs that you had to, buying costs to come in and then you got to sell it, the selling costs, capital gains tax. Why would you want to do that? If it's a good property, hold it.
Yeah.
The longer, the better. If it's not working for you, so I get a call every week. I've got a couple of properties. Great. Tell me about them. High-rise apartments. Where? Sydney, Brisbane or Melbourne, for example. And you straight away know they haven't made a cent. I've had them for 10 years. I had a client crying on the phone one day. They had 4 properties in Brisbane, 10 years old. They thought, so the idea was to us to take that equity and go big again. They hadn't made a cent. in 10 years. I went and did all the evaluations for them, and it was such a hard call because you could see them crying on the Zoom. And
Because their expectation
that was their nest egg. They
yeah.
thought that was their next. So the next tranche was going to be their retirement buying. And so that was what I was going to do for them. And we realised, so you hear that all the time. So if you buy poorly, and you just get caught up in the seminars, you know, run to the back of the room, put your hand on the wall and buy the house and land package or the high-rise apartment. And they're great to live in. If people want to live in there, we'll buy them. But we've never sold a high-rise apartment, ever. I never will, I don't think, for an investor. Yeah.
I think people need to understand that the high-rise apartments are fantastic opportunities for cash flow, especially with rent going up.
Yep.
And they're a fantastic opportunity for proximity because your high-rise apartments are often near train stations, amenities. You don't really see a high-rise apartment out in Goulburn, okay? No. Or you don't really see one out in Albury, for example. There might be, but you don't see them in regional suburbs. So if you're looking for a place to live, apartments are great. Low maintenance, you pay a strata, they'll take care of everything. You know, if there's not too many people in the building, it's not overly dense, you've got the opportunity to basically live a bit more freely. Your elevator's not going to be taken up quite often.
Yeah.
But if you're looking for something for serious capital gain, I always say land is your best bet.
Yeah, and it goes back to that point I said, first we start with the strategy.
That's it. That's
and
awesome.
Then we start talking about the type of property and the type of range we go into. But we got to understand that first, because otherwise, who am I to put an apartment in front of you? I don't even know what we're looking to achieve.
Julian, for these strategies, for all this data, where is the best place for our listeners to be able to, reach out to you? What are the best links? What are the best ways to get in contact?
Yeah, I mean, for us, we offer a no obligation sort of discovery call particularly, which can then lead into a property investment assessment with myself or Luke, my director, or one of our strategic teams. And in those sessions, we kind of go through the data, we go through our buying methodology, how we use data to buy and why we buy in certain areas, look at long-term data, 30-year charts, and then look at recent data. And then we start talking about property. Mm-hmm. But we want to understand them, and that session's about really understanding what they're looking to do. And you find quite often they might come into that with an idea that they heard at a barbecue, but they'll walk away with a different idea. And they'll be motivated then to get their finance sorted, and then they come back to us ready to go.
Julian, you're an absolute wealth of knowledge, with a wealth of experience. Where can our listeners find you? So
online it's Search Party Property, searchpartyproperty.com.au. Yeah. We're on all the socials, so Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. So I post something on LinkedIn every single day, and I have done for 3 years, which is a big channel for me from an acquisition point of view. So just sharing knowledge, sharing information. It's probably the right target market too, and we seem to get a lot of people inquiring to learn more.
Thank you so much for coming on. If you need help with your home loan or if you need any assistance with finance, you can also visit us at www.itsimple.com.au. You can also find us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. My golden retriever's even got a Facebook page now too, at It's Simple Finance. As always, I am Joseph Dalwood, and thank you for listening to The Finance Show with Joe.